Hey everybody, this is Rex Bear. I just got an update on a event that happened at a nuclear facility in Alabama, close to Huntsville. It's called the Browns Ferry Nuclear Facility, one of the most powerful nuclear power plants in North America. It was also one of the first ones designed in the 60s, and they essentially found a loaded handgun inside of the facility. And although this deal at first, let's find out why. And I also want to give you an update on the radiation levels. They've been pretty low out here in San Antonio lately. I apologize for not updating this sooner. I want to share this with you right now. The radiation levels are at 0.11 microsieverts per hour, and they were even down to 0.09 earlier today, and they've been hovering around the 0.1 microsieverts per hour mark overall, which is definitely pretty low and not a concern by any means, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to share this information with you that I pulled up on the web because I've compiled a lot of data on specific nuclear facilities right now that could be in dire straits, as well as the Stuxnet virus. I've gotten deep into the China faulty microchips that are in many of the Department of Defense systems, as well as nuclear facilities, reactors, the dam systems hardware, as well as drones, satellites, jets, airplanes, personal computers, contractors' computers, commercial grade computers, servers. This is a nightmare, folks. So we're going to get pretty deep into this. And I discussed this kind of stuff a few years ago. When I would do it live, we would always have issues with DOSing. So fortunately now I'm able to record this and then present it to you. And I'm just going to share the data that's been presented to me for you to decide. So here we go. Now, as you can see here, this first screen that we're looking at, this is located, if you go to the hisc.rosc.hu alert map, I'll leave the link in the video description box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. And you're going to see a question mark. And this question mark is categorized, or it's not categorized as a specific event. That's why it's a question mark. So you click on it, and what it'll do is it'll give you some details on what happened. You can see here that law enforcement, military, homeland, local security was called in for an event that takes place at the Browns Ferry nuclear plant. Now, if you go into the description box on this, it'll give you more details about how a contractor working at the facility brought a loaded handgun in, and there's really no information as to why. You know, maybe this guy just takes his gun with him everywhere he goes and he just forgot to take it out of his holster. Or could there be something more sinister to this? Could this just be a downplay on a possible terrorist attack that was about to go down? When you look at the facility itself, I'm going to show you some details about it. The Browns Ferry nuclear plant is located at the Tennessee River, and it's close to Athens, Alabama. If you scroll down on here, you can also see that it's had issues in the past. There was a tornado back in 2011 that got pretty close, and they had to shut it down for a while, so they had some power outages and some blackouts. You can see right here, you scroll down, worker got handgun past security at Browns Ferry Nuclear Plant, Times Daily. Gun found at Browns Ferry Nuclear Plant, AL.com. Now here's where it gets juicy though. This is a list of the nuclear power plants in the United States. Now you're going to see some of these icons will show 2 or 3 units. That means there's either 2 reactors or 3, obviously. Now look at the area where there is the majority of nuclear reactors. Illinois, got a few in Tennessee, Alabama, a whole bunch in South Carolina, North Carolina, a bunch on the East Coast. Got a couple down there in California by the San Andreas Fault Line. Got one in Washington State, got a few in Arizona, a few in Texas. But here's my concern. With all of these nuclear facilities that are close to the New Madrid fault line, let me give you an idea here. This is a map you can find at rightsidenews.com. You're going to see the 1994 earthquake that had a 6.7, pretty darn close to the Diablo facility out there in California on the coast. Now let's look at the earthquake of 1895. This caused a ton of damage, and the one that they're predicting that's going to happen at pretty much any time, could happen any day, any hour, any moment, they're predicting that to be far worse than the 1895 megaquake. And if you see the area on where the majority of the damage was done, let's go back here. Look at that cluster of nuclear facilities, and then look at this map right here. Now, you're telling me that if we have a serious quake, we're not going to have some of these nuclear reactors. They're going to have major issues. It amazes me that people think nuclear reactors are a good idea to boil water, because that's essentially what it comes down to. And guess what? If the coolants don't keep those fuel rods below 1200 degrees, then they blow up. Now, what about Stuxnet? Stuxnet is a big deal. Now, when this first got launched into the nuclear facilities that they're working on in Iran, it caused all sorts of issues. Now, you've got people out there literally in basements and apartments and unknown locations working on this type of software and modernizing it, tweaking it. Stuxnet is such a frightening software/virus program, because what it does is it actually gets lodged into the software. It rewrites itself to where if you're skimming through the software looking for some type of virus or some type of anomaly, well, it will essentially work the code out to where it is invisible almost to many of these tracking systems, because it can rewrite the code to be a part of the code in and of itself. And then once activated, then it does its specific duty. Now, if you have a Stuxnet virus in a nuclear power plant, what happens is it goes after the temperatures. And the temperatures could be rising and you wouldn't even know, because the software changes it to where it doesn't trigger the alarm, essentially. It blocks the alarm trigger. Now, if somebody can do this on the other side of the world, next door, down the street, anybody that has access to the World Wide Web and some good knowledge and data on how to actually write code with the basic blueprint, I'm surprised this kind of event hasn't happened already, where somebody has been able to cause a nuclear plant here in the U.S. or some Western country, or even an Eastern country. I mean, any country for that matter. I mean, why label it here? I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Now, let's get into how hackers are actually getting into more nuclear facilities. This is a rising trend. This article came out on the voanews.com. You can read about this by Jim Randall. This came out last year. This is another really good article that has been kind of suppressed. This is from defensetech.org. Proof that military chips from China are infected, by John Reed. Yes, this is a 5-year-old or 4.5-year-old article, and it's just as pertinent today as it was 4.5 years ago. Imagine Chinese microchips in very sensitive Department of Defense mainframes, in jets, drones, satellites. Remember the Chinese hack last year where they were able to get almost everybody that works for the government in the U.S., personal information, ties and contacts, psychological profiles, security clearances. Let me read this to you real quick. For years, everyone has warned that counterfeit microchips made in China are installed on American military hardware, could contain viruses or secret backdoors, granting the Chinese military cyber access to U.S. weapons systems. These warnings, predictions recently expanded beyond counterfeit parts. Now we're worried that any Chinese-made components could be infected. How about the article that came out on The Guardian? U.S. drones hacked by Iraqi insurgents with $26 software, giving them the eyes that the military has and access to the drones that they do. They could turn them against us. How about the film Black Hat? Excellent movie. Well, I came out with a prediction right after I saw this film that one of the next Stuxnet type attacks is going to take place outside of Hong Kong. Now, this movie came out in 2015, directed by Michael Mann. The film stars Chris Hemsworth. It was released on January 16th, 2015. Now, The nuclear plant in Taiwan, Hong Kong, is the one that, at the beginning, the coolant pumps overheat and explode from a hacker. Then I did some more research, and here you go. Sure enough, they are working on a nuclear facility right outside of Hong Kong that's been hit with multiple operational incidents. This came out in South China Morning Post. I'll leave a link for this in the video description box as well. Meanwhile, the Oroville Dam spillway is in really big trouble. One of many. Also some issues with the one out there by Lake Tahoe, I think. Then you look up how many dams there are in the United States. Nearly 8,100 of them in 2006. Virtually all of this stuff has some type of software or technology, some type of connection to the internet, or a part of the internet. Or if it doesn't have a connection to the internet, now they've got technologies where they can use thumb drives and even Wi-Fi technologies to implant certain viruses or code. People will say, well, this nuclear plant or this facility doesn't even have an internet connection. So there's no way that unless somebody finds a way to put in a thumb drive into our hard drive, into our mainframe, then we don't have to worry about it. Well, I can't confirm this. And I can tell you that I've read a lot of research in different types of technologies that can be used via wirelessly without the need of a thumb drive or a physical internet connection. But hey, I mean, all that stuff doesn't really matter because what's more important is the headline news of Hillary Clinton reading a Pence email. That's definitely headline news material. I mean, that is much more important. And speaking of Hillary Clinton, I know I just did a real goofy podcast with the Hillary Clinton mask saying that we're going to be doing a debate on Planet X, and I want to get 5 people that strongly believe in it and the brown dwarf star hypothesis and 5 people that strongly disagree with it. And I'm going to give you guys an open platform. I will be the moderator. You will each have a specific amount of time to talk, and we're not going to have people talking over each other. And I want you all to bring multiple pieces of data and evidence to the table so the entire discussion won't be based on 1 or 2 images. Bring your A game, and let's see what you got. I want to get to the truth. I'm sure most of you that listen to Leak Project want to get to the truth. Well, let's do it. We're also going to be doing a debate on the flat earth and the globe model. You guys know firmly that I believe in the globe model, but there's a lot of people out there that don't, so let's put this to bed. Let's figure this out together. Now, that doesn't matter either because I can go turn on my television set and watch these guys bounce a ball around and get paid about $1.5 million a year. I mean, that's a lot more exciting. And I've got an enormous amount of opportunities with reality TV shows now. I mean, I could go watch Survivor, The Bachelor, The Real Housewives, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, America's Next Top Model, The Apprentice, American Idol, Real World. What else we got here? Project Runaway, The Biggest Loser, The Voice. I mean, Jersey Shore, Dancing with the Stars. I mean, this is all much more important than anything. I mean, this is really what matters, you guys. And I'm going to be watching it on my smart TV while I'm getting spied on and my information is getting sold to commercial interests for more marketing and more consumerism and more mind control tactics. And I'm going to continue to eat my genetically modified corn because we know that over 90% of the corn is genetically modified that people consume in the U.S. on average, the average consumer. Not if you're a vegan that eats strictly organic, that's obviously a different story. But if you look at the statistics, 92% of the U.S. corn is genetically engineered. High fructose corn syrup, Or a lot of times now they can find ways to not even label stuff. They'll just put in these nanoparticulates that are so small and so powerful, they bypass the brain-blood barrier, go right into your brain, and it's no big deal because it's a nanoparticulate, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and by the way, if you're consuming foods that are genetically modified corn, well, I'm going to keep eating it because I love my mercury. Yep, we know that about half of the tested samples of high fructose corn syrup contain mercury, which is good for us, right? No big deal. It's good for us. Just watch that video that was on one of the mainstream media outlets a while ago where they came out and said, oh, well, new study finds that mercury is actually good for you. Well, keep eating that mercury, buddy. Keep going. Make sure to become an exclusive member at leakproject.com with your premium memberships. $10 a month. You get access to almost 600 podcasts, commercial-free, downloadable, streamable, and your contributions greatly help Leak Project grow. Also, make sure to go to Noble Gold Investments. Let them know you heard about them with Leak Project. I know the owner personally. Their prices are phenomenal. Their service is just as good. Check out foodforliberty.com. I'm going to leave the links once again in the video description box. Awesome products, organic, non-GMO storable foods, the best of the best in liquid vitamins called Protovite. This stuff is awesome. You can get it in the single dose as well, too. And also check out our sponsor, One Tac Tactical Gear. Now, I went to Batteries Plus today to get a new cell phone battery, and they had this enormous flashlight that was bragging about how it was 200 lumens. Thing was enormous. I mean, it looked more like a weapon. Well, these bad boys are 1,200 lumens. They fit in the palm of your hand. They're made of aircraft aluminum, and they're awesome. So that is my shameless plug. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support. Question everything, and be the change you want to see.